Most empires die from a hunger for more. They expand until they crack, or they reinvent themselves into chaos through revolution. But Egypt was different. While the rest of the world was struggling to find its identity, Egypt knew exactly who it wanted to be, forever. Egypt didn't last for 3,000 years because they chased the future. They survived because they mastered the art of repeating the past to perfection. Today, we view stagnation as a weakness. To the Egyptians, it was the ultimate achievement. They built a society that didn't seek progress, but harmony. Welcome to the story of the empire that chose eternity over change. The foundation of Egyptian stability wasn't a brilliant politician. It was a river. The Nile wasn't just water. It was a clockwork mechanism. Every year, with mechanical precision, the water rose, deposited fertile silt, and receded. Where other civilizations feared the whims of nature, the Egyptians viewed nature as a contract. Because food production was so predictable, the state could plan decades in advance. In Egypt, geography became psychology. If nature repeats itself perfectly, why should humanity do anything else? To understand Egypt, you must understand the concept of ma'at. We often translate it as justice, but it meant far more. It was the cosmic glue. In Egypt, morality, politics, and natural science were fused into a single truth. Change wasn't seen as an improvement, it was seen as a defect, a crack in the ma'at. The goal of the Egyptian state wasn't to innovate, but to maintain. If you did things exactly like your grandfather, you were upholding the balance of the universe. In Europe and Mesopotamia, kings constantly struggled for legitimacy. They had to win wars or prove their worth. In Egypt, the pharaoh wasn't chosen by the gods. He was a god. This eliminated the greatest threat to any society, the crisis of legitimacy. You don't argue with the sunrise and you don't argue with the pharaoh. When a pharaoh died, the institution didn't. The god simply changed bodies. This created a political resilience that is almost unimaginable to us today. We often make the mistake of thinking the pyramids were just grand tombs. They weren't. They were political technology. After over 4,000 years, we still can't comprehend the complexity of the Giza pyramids. By mobilizing tens of thousands of farmers during the months the Nile flooded the fields, the state kept the population focused on a singular sacred project. They weren't built to impress neighbors, but to convince the Egyptians themselves that their system was as permanent as the stone. But there was a price to pay. By elevating stability to the highest virtue, Egypt lost the ability to adapt to a world that began changing faster than the Nile. When the Iron Age arrived and new military technologies emerged from the Hittites and Assyrians, Egypt was trapped in its own traditions. If the perfect society has already been invented, why innovate? Science became ceremonial rather than practical. Egypt became a living museum. They lasted longer than anyone else, but eventually their inability to become something else led to their decline. We live in an era of disruption. We celebrate change for the sake of change. But Egypt reminds us of a vital truth. Change without a foundation collapses. Egypt teaches us that a society needs a core narrative that is stronger than the next quarterly report. Their success was their ability to provide meaning and peace for millennia. Their failure was believing the world outside would wait for them. We chase progress and risk chaos. The Egyptians chased order and risked standstill. Perhaps the ideal civilization lies somewhere between the banks of the Nile and the labs of Silicon Valley.